Hello, everybody. It is your Uncle Fish back again for School Fish Art Stream. J-Man wants Gatling gun on the end of his tail. Oh my goodness. J-Man says the tail's where you put all the heavy artillery. Yeah. Said he used to have a howitzer on the end of his tail.
Good morning, everybody. It is your ever-loving Uncle Fish back again. I know it has been a fat minute. What's up, Leroy? It has been a minute since I've been here. I've gone to a con, and then I had to go take care of my grandbabies for a little bit and got sick from both of those things, which knocked me down for a hot minute. But I am back again, fastest working man in indie comics, back on a School of Fish art stream, writer and creator of the amazing, the Mighty KAAW, the Cro-Magnon. The first issue did really well. People have really enjoyed it. I'm really excited about that. And I'm excited to show off the cover for issue 2, which is now finished. What's up, Lion Draw? Good to see you, man. I've just got the last round of edits back, and there's just a couple of like a crossbar eye here or there to fix. What's up, Katie? Glad you're here. So anyway, I am going to show off the cover for the Patreon exclusive version of issue 2 of the Mighty KAAW, which this is going out to my Patreon backers at the end of the month for like everybody that's backed up until then. It'll go out like the first week of November, and issue 2 of KAAW is ready to go. And I'm going to show off the cover, and I'm going to try something here. I'm going to not be on the screen. I need y'all to tell me if you can still hear me talking or not, because I'm still trying to figure out how some of this is working around here. Uh-oh. Now, see, Lion Draw is saying we got something wrong with the audio. Man, there is always a problem. Hello. Let's see. Let's add. Hello. That's not working. Hello. Okay. That seems to be working over there now. All right. So, Lion Draw, can you hear me now? See, that's the problem, because half of this is going to restream, so it sounds fine to Katie, and then half of it's streaming over to TikTok, which is the whole thing. And now, okay, I'm going to try this again, and I'm going to be off the screen for a second so that I can show y'all. As I was saying to those that didn't hear me on TikTok a second ago, I'm the creator of the Mighty KAAW. The first issue did really well. The second issue is done. I've got to fix a couple of last second round edits, like a couple of crossbar eyes here and there. And then issue 2 will be ready to go out at the end of this month. It'll be shipping out like the first week of November for everybody that's backed my Patreon. Because if you back my Patreon, you get first cut at this. You get the digital copy, you get the Patreon exclusive cover that I made for this issue. And that's what I want to show off, is the Patreon exclusive cover that only goes out to the Patreon backers that have backed this month or before. So I'm going to put this up on the screen, and I want y'all to tell me if you can still hear me talking on both sides of this after I put this image up. So let me know. All right, this is the Patreon exclusive cover. It has the KAAW Mr. Fish logo in the top corner, which isn't going to be there on the main release. It's got the Patreon exclusive tag, and it's got the like in process drawing of this cover. Can y'all still hear me talking? It shows up on TikTok, so I'm guessing they can hear over there. Sarah and Katie, can y'all hear me over on y'all's end? Good deal. All right, that's what I was hoping for. Good deal. Thank you, everybody, because we are going to get started on. I got to wrap up this 80s wraparound cover so that it's ready for like the big release, when it goes to Kickstarter and everything. And I gotta hurry up and get that 80s cover done because like it's gonna be a beast to color. Um, Let me pull it up. All right, and just for the sake of everybody that's um I'm gonna turn up the pencils a little bit so it's easier to see. And yeah, for the sake of everybody there, we're gonna scan across. Man, this has just about everybody from the 80s I could think of in there. Oh yeah, man, there's Transformers, there's Voltron, there's Ultraman. You get in here tight and let me turn the pencils down a little bit. There's Ninja Turtles and Care Bears and Biscuits and G.I. Joe and Strawberry Shortcake and the Smurfs and the Thundercats and the Justice League and Grape Ape and Space Ghost and Blue Falcon and Gizmo. All man, everything's up in here. And so anyway, this is what we're gonna. What's up, NRG? That's a good name. Add Alien X. Yeah, I would love to add Alien X, but it's an '80s. And they've got so much stuff crammed in here as it is. Like my flatter's already going to be killing me when it's time to go to color this thing. So I had to cut it off somewhere though. There's little spaces in here. All right. I'm not making this harder on myself. What is up, PJ? Good morning, man. Glad you are here. Always good to see my buddy PJ in the morning. All right, make sure everything is where I think it is. All right, and now I'm going to get down here and let's see, where was I at last? Not that it really matters. I could start anywhere, but let's see. We'll come down here. We'll finish working on this because I don't want there to be a dead space down here where strawberry shortcake didn't get finished. The strawberry shortcake is as precious as it can be. All right, I'm gonna take my bald head off of here for a second because I've realized when I go back to edit these things later into shorter clips to try and reshare on TikTok or whatever, it's mostly just video of the top of my head, which is why I was wanting to see if y'all could still hear me when I maximize the other screen. So I'm gonna take my face off for a second so we can keep talking and I can keep working. There we go. All right, let's get to it. What's the most powerful character here? That is a good question. I'm gonna throw that out to everybody. What do y'all think is the most powerful character on here? Because like I would be real tempted to say like Godzilla or maybe Voltron, but I don't know. Some of these other characters, might have something that I'm not thinking of that might put them up ahead. I don't know. What does everybody else think? Oh yeah, man, Irrepressible Comics. It has been a minute, and I apologize for that. But man, I have kind of been out of commission for a while after all the cons and uh, all the traveling and going to see my grandbabies, and I got sick from that. Uh, and frankly, there was no way to come on here and not just absolutely sound like I was miserable. And I didn't want to do that because a lot of folks have trouble dealing with the fact that, I live every day of my life in pain. And some people just cannot handle other people being uncomfortable. And so I figured rather than make everybody uncomfortable because I sounded miserable, even though I was in good spirits, I just, when everything hurts, everything hurts. But so I decided to save y'all that and keep my head down and get stuff done because these comic books don't make themselves. And the funny thing is, all of the stuff that we got to do to pitch and sell the comic books so that people will buy them is also taking time away from making comic books. I could get so many more books done if I didn't have to worry about all the, you know, being on social media all the time. Muhammad Ali, the legend, and Michael Jackson need to be here. Those are good. I didn't even think about putting Michael Jackson in here. We almost put oh, what's her name from Aliens in the mech suit power lifter in here. And we were gonna put John McClane in here, but when it came time to actually doing it and people shouting things out and stuff, we ran out of room real quick. Sarah says, I don't even know who all is in here. There's so many on here. Absolutely. Nostalgia wants me to say Optimus Prime is the most powerful 80s character. Well, yeah. But also, like, don't you think Voltron would just like clap those cheeks on Optimus Prime? Like, I don't think Optimus would stand a chance. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. And like, I would have the nostalgia in me would have to think that like Optimus Prime would stand a chance against Godzilla just because of, you know, his leadership abilities to inspire the troops and having a whole army at his disposal and, you know, all of those things. But like one on one, Optimus Prime's getting stomped on, I think, from Godzilla. But, you know, but that's me. Who am I to say? I just drew it. I didn't know you voted or not. Strawberry is the most unassuming. You wouldn't even see it coming. Strawberry shortcake wins the day. Like in that ultimate battle song where Mr. Rogers comes out on top. What is it? Ultimate Showdown or whatever. I love that song. It is in my like songs playlist on Spotify and I listen to it a couple times a week. Because all I do when I'm working is listen to my liked songs. And very occasionally do I listen to one of the like playlists that it makes for me. Isn't there a My Little Pony in there? Absolutely, there is. She might be the most powerful. Friendship is magic, after all, says Sarah. I'm not sure Inspector Gadget can be beat. You can break him into pieces, though. All right. Now, see, that's a good point. Like, that's a good point. You know, Inspector Gadget has been through a lot. And he has the power of, you know, plot contrivance where he's going to win despite his own ignorance every time. So, you know, maybe that. I should have put Brain in here. That's what I should have done. I should have put Brain in the background watching Gadget's butt. And Brain would beat Godzilla. And Inspector Gadget would take the credit for it. Absolutely. Brain would take all the whooping, and Inspector Gadget would take all the glory. Notice I said whooping. Do you know a comic artist called Tom Nugent? Yeah, absolutely. Oh yeah, man. Yeah, I know him. I'd love to see your video about it. Galactus, possibly. I don't think Gadget could beat Atomic Breath either. Inspector Gadget would never fight just to see if he's stronger, though. Oh, yeah, absolutely not. But Inspector Gadget, I think, would absolutely come in to like the ultimate battle and be like, "This is obviously a claw plot," and he would get involved for absolutely all the wrong reasons, completely oblivious to what's going on. Like I could see Inspector Gadget in, like the Mortal Kombat world, like absolutely trying to pin all of this nonsense on Claw somehow and be completely oblivious to the fact that he was fighting with like real gods and fighting for the survival of the planes. Yeah, he'd never see it. Oh, forgetting Plastic Man from DC. I'm kind of surprised Plastic Man didn't get in here. I used to love that cartoon. I want to say even before the Super Friends, like I really clicked with the Plastic Man cartoon for whatever reason. And that was my jam, man. That made me fall in love with the idea of superheroes and stuff for whatever reason. And it was all pretty silly too, which is weird because I usually really hate the comic relief characters. Oh man, it is so nice. I can sit here and just draw and talk, and I can scratch my nose if it itches and not worry about it being on TV. I just got to worry about staying on screen with my work because I get focused on what I'm doing and not look up to see if I'm still on screen. So I apologize for that. If we include live action real people, though, the real winner would be Mr. Rogers. Absolutely. No question. And in my world, like it wouldn't even be violence. He would absolutely win them over with friendship. Like the ponies would try. The Care Bears might try before they just break out and just go all out to war. But Mr. Rogers would come in, really listen to everybody, really pay attention and validate that they're there, that they matter. Tell Godzilla how proud he is of him trying to protect everybody, even if they think he's a monster. But it doesn't matter what you look like. You're still protecting people, aren't you? Because you've got a good heart. Oh, yeah, he would absolutely win with kindness, genuine thoughtfulness, and actually caring about people like some kind of monster. Man, I remember jamming out to Mr. Rogers as a kid. Man, I would get so excited when that theme song would come on. I would be running in crazy circles around this little uh, table that I had that my mom would set up in the living room when Mr. Rogers was fixing to come on so I could have my snack and draw on it and stuff while Mr. Rogers was on. And I would just run in mad circles around it, screaming my head off because Mr. Rogers was coming on like it was the freaking Beatles or something. That was my jam. And though I may have strayed far from the path of Rogers at times in my life, it's pretty funny that I've come back around to being basically that type of dude. Uh, let's see. PJ says I'd pay to see Strawberry pistol whip Mr. Rogers. She's like, nah, I'm not going to be your neighbor. Let's see. Irrepressible Comics is absolutely he'd negotiate peace in maybe an hour max. Lion Draw says King Kong is missing and he's pissed about it. Well, yeah, I couldn't fit everything. And, you know, almost all of this is directly from uh, stuff that was shouted out on the live while I was actually drawing it. So, you can blame the Katies and the Kyrens and the PJs and the Sarahs of the world, if you will, for not suggesting King Kong or Mister Rogers. Would always draw aliens because of him. Awesome. I wasn't born in the 1800s or the 1900s, Lion Draw says. I was born in the 2000s. I was obsessed with Ben 10. Still obsessed to this day. Oh, absolutely, man. I freaking love Ben 10. And, it's absolutely my kids got me into it. Like, I mean, not that I wasn't still watching cartoons, and if I didn't have kids, I probably still would have stumbled across it anyway. But my kids, like you said, they were born in 99, 2000, and 2003 and on. And my older boys freaking loved Ben 10. Man, did they love them some Ben 10. And I bought like all of the figures. You have never seen a grown man more crushed than when I went out to the shed looking through old toys and stuff that had gotten put away and found out that like the dog had chewed up some of the Ben 10 figures. Like I was more upset about it than my kids were because I know what it's like. And I know, like while right then at that moment when they were 18, 19, 20, they might not care that much about those old toys. But there's going to come a point where they wish they could revisit some of that and, be sad that they were gone. So I was making a point to hold on to some of the toys that either I thought they might want to come back for someday or they might want to show their kids how much they loved XYZ when they were a kid, or stuff that their kids might want to play with someday, when the grandkids come over to visit, which I had no idea was going to be as soon as it was. But my boys don't play around, which, partly comes with being ADD and all that other stuff. Like, when they know what they want, they jump on it and don't second guess it. My wife's always asking me, like, she's always saying stuff along the lines of, like, aren't you tired of all my craziness yet? And, all the weird stuff that comes with it. And there was, like, a lot of traumatic loss and stuff right after we got married and things that happened. And, lots of complicated big feelings and things happening. And she's like, "Aren't you tired of that yet? Like, haven't you had your fill yet?" I'm like, "Nah, I'm good. I made my choice. I'm happy. I stick with it." And while she feels bad every time she doesn't do XYZ to whatever imaginary standard she has set up for herself that she's supposed to meet for some reason because, that's the way somebody else does it. I'm just like, man, I've got this awesome, sweet, beautiful lady that loves me, that's kind and thoughtful and loves on my kids like they're her own kids, and you know plans these amazing holiday celebrations and stuff, and is putting all this thought into all these things and being so kind and so generous. And man, I'm ecstatic. It is so much better than what I came from. Katie says the only thing I know about Mr. Rogers is that he was a nice guy. Let's see. Irrepressible says kids are the best excuse to watch cartoons. Lion Draw says facts. No other words, just facts. My oldest son, says Irrepressible, was born in 2019, and he's so good at finding Dad and Me shows. Oh, man, that's awesome. Oh, dude. Y'all watch Bluey, man? Bluey freaking rocks. And I literally, like, I had to point Bluey out to my grandkids because, like, they had watched it a couple of times, but, like, they were more into, like, Blippy and stuff, which kind of drives me nuts. But I turned them on to Bluey so we could start watching it together because Bluey is really well written and deep, and like the kids can absolutely enjoy it and have fun, but the parents can actually get so much out of it and identify with it too because it really sneaks some stuff in there. Oh, absolutely. I was gonna say Bluey is my fave that my kids watch. Bingo's the best, says PJ. Oh, absolutely. Lion Jaw says never liked, but I prefer Dora than Bluey. Well, there you go. I kind of hate Dora. Man, Dora drives me nuts. But Dora falls into like a whole category of shows that drive me nuts with the like how stupid am I kind of mentality to it. Like, you know, can you tell the difference between your asshole and a hole in the ground? Can you? Yeah, it just drives me up the freaking wall. I it's just so like it's not I don't even think it's like age appropriately dumbed down. It's just dumb to me. Like it just drives me up the wall. I do like, however, the one thing that I really did enjoy about Dora is stumbling across Dora in the Spanish language stations, and all of a sudden like Tico the squirrel is speaking English and stuff, and I thought that was really awesome and kind of funny. But I thought that was really cool. I dug that they took the time to still make it a bilingual show and all that stuff. I appreciated that. But yeah, I absolutely cringed every time I had to put Dora on, and the kids would sit there watching it for hours. And the thing that really ticked me off about it was like I would put Dora on for them so that I could go get some stuff done, and then I would look up and I've been sitting there watching Dora for 2 hours and I can't freaking stand Dora. Oh my God. Drove me up the wall. PJ says, Blue will make you cry though. Oh, yeah. Oh, man. And that one where they were pretending to be their parents and the balloon popped and he reached over and grabbed mom's hand. Oh, dude. Yeah, that heartbreaking. And admittedly, like I got on the Bluey train because of TikTok, because of people pointing out how awesome it was and adults talking about how much they enjoyed it and stuff. I had to go, what's up, Juan Batiste Jr.? Good to see you, man. Katie says all my favorite cartoons were the sort of 80s cartoons that were vaguely traumatizing to children, like Animals of Farthing Wood or Watership Down. Yeah, it's kind of weird some of the stuff that they did in old cartoons. Like some of it just seems weird now because like it was so focused on selling toys, and that seems so weird now that We're not just playing long advertisements anymore. Or like, oh, we want it to have stakes, so we're going to kill off all the most important characters. And either doing that because you want it to have stakes, or doing it because you just want to get rid of the characters and didn't expect the kids to care that much about these characters that you want to replace so you can sell different toys. Like, neither one of those were good reasons to do that. Vincent Spector says, "Who do you have print your books for you?" All of it depends. All of the books that I print myself, and all the stuff that I'll be doing probably here out for Mr. Fish Comics, is going through Kablam in Florida, because over the years I've done so many books with them, we've become friends, and I know them, and I know if I have a problem, like, I can just message them and talk to them and make sure we get everything fixed. Um, I like working with them, but like the first three issues of Green Zone and stuff that were printed by my publisher FSK, they went through Comics Wellspring, which always does a fine job. Um, but like, I wasn't paying for the printing on those, and they were in communication with people there at Comics Wellspring and arguing them down to cheaper prices on printing than what they advertise on the website and stuff. And I don't do that. I just like look at the calculator, and if this is what it says it's going to be, then okay, I make my decisions based on that. Not I don't like haggling with people. I don't like arguing with people about prices and stuff. Like, if that's what it costs you to do it, that's what it costs you to do it. Either I can afford that or I can't. But I'm not going to argue with you about it. But they were arguing them down to cheaper prices and stuff than you could get somewhere else, and which is part of what held up like production on like printing and shipping on Green Zone 2 and 3, because the publisher was waiting to get it up to a high enough number of books getting printed in one order so that they could get an even bigger discount on it, which normally I wouldn't mind, but it took months to get the books out when the book was done before it ever went to Kickstarter. And I don't like going to Kickstarter without a book being finished if I can help it. Um, or if a client takes it to Kickstarter before I'm finished with it, it's usually like I'm going to be finished with the book before the Kickstarter's done. So it's not like a big giant deal, but I learned from some of my other clients how much better things work out when you get the book done first. Uh, the publisher on Green Zone and stuff was Freestyle Comics out of Ohio, and uh, but from here on out, it will be published by me myself, and just because I have to be able to work faster, and they have so many awesome books going at the same time, which is great, but that also can sometimes lead to delays. And, if your book gets slowed down for whatever reason, not even a bad reason necessarily, just, things happen. And when there's a lot of people waiting in line, if your book gets slowed down, then that slows down my book coming out. And, you know, when I'm depending on that payment from that book to pay my bills, the bills are coming every month regardless. The mortgage is coming every month, whether my book got put off 6 months to get printed or not. And that just ultimately was taking the fun out of it for me. and I wanted to part ways while we could part and still be friends and still do cool stuff together and go to shows together before it got to the point where we couldn't do that anymore because, there's hard feelings and stuff. That's what I didn't want to get to. So, made the tough choice, but ultimately it was for the greater good. And we still get to do cool stuff together and have fun. And like, I just kept pushing Mike to get Freestyle Comics on a TikTok shop, and he's been killing it over there. And I'm super happy for him. That was one thing. Juan Batista says he likes Comics Wellspring. Do I remember Popples? PJ asked. Absolutely, man. He said my dad hated that show, said he'd rather have us watch He Man. His logic was He Man solved his own problems. Popples used magic to fix everything right before they got into trouble. Vincent asked, do I do Kickstarters for all my books? Do they have Diamond Select distribution? Uh, Diamond, no. Do I kickstart them all? Yes and no. I've been doing Kickstarters for them after they got done and stuff, but right now I'm really pushing Patreon because I would like to get my Patreon set up. I've got it set up now as a subscription to my comics, and for like, I'm gonna go ahead and come on screen for that one. So for like $5 a month, you can get digital copies of every book that I do sent out to you every month. And for $15, excuse me, for $15 a month, you get physical copies of every book that I do sent out to you every month. And so far, we haven't had a problem. We did the first month was the first issue of KAAW. The second month was the KAAW source book. The third month was Novikov that just went out that I did for a client that's I'm really proud of. And then next month is going to be the second issue of KAAW. PJ says $15 is the best value in indie comics, and really it is. Like Green Zone was like $20 plus shipping for the book, you know, to go out on Kickstarter. It's definitely cheaper to go through the Patreon route, and that way you can just sign up and get the book sent to you. And the Kickstarters take a lot of time. They take a lot of energy. They take a lot out of me. And being a disabled artist, I can only do X amount, in a day. So if I'm spending all day going on podcasts and pitching Kickstarter and stuff and making posts and advertising and doing all that stuff, I'm not making books. Like in the time it took me to run the Kickstarter for KAAW #1, I could have put out KAAW 2 and 3 in the time that it took me to run that Kickstarter. So my hope is to get more people over to my Patreon backing it there. And there's all kinds of different tiers. Like you can go up to the get every single variant cover shipped to you version. You can go up to the for the handful of people that want to commission me every month for something, there's $100 tier where you not only get every physical book shipped to you that I put out, but you get a commission from me every month, which is actually half price of like if you hired me for a cover or something, that would be at least $200. So you're getting 12 commissions a year at a 50% discount and comic books, which is an awesome deal. And, I've gotten to do some cool work on that already with Roscoe. But that's not an everybody tier. That's for those people that were already, looking to hire me, or those people that already hire me regularly to do their work, or have been fighting to try and get in on my limited list of commissions and couldn't make it. It's a good option for them. But it's a very limited tier, and there's only like 3 slots left on it. But for $15, you can get all the books that I put out shipped to you. And what I'm thinking right now is since a lot of people may have come on like since Green Zone and stuff, I'm thinking I'm de- I'm still deciding, but I think the next couple of months I'm going to release the Green Zone issues that some people might have missed out on for the next couple of months. And for those that already have it, give them one of the variant covers or something that they don't have, or uh, work out something else for the couple of people that do have them. But having worked on 70 books, even if like I got sick for a month, I have lots of stuff to pull from that I can also send out. And so that's not a problem. Uh but yeah, CAW 2 is already finished and it's going to be going out this month to my Patreon backers. It will be going to Kickstarter after that at some point. I haven't decided if I'm going to run a Kickstarter in November maybe, or I ran one in December last year and it was a little bit tough. So I may do it in November. I may push it up a little bit, do it in November, and do the Mighty KAAW and whatever else I've put out between here and there since my last Kickstarter, and have that all available there where you can catch up on everything that I do. But I'm still trying to decide. And that's something I wanted to ask you guys about while y'all are here. You know, the Sarahs and the PJs and the Katies and the Kyrens, if he shows up soon, which will be after I ask the question anyway. For those that have been really invested in what I'm doing, those that have been, jumping on the Patreon, and those that have been, backing all the comics and stuff that I've been putting out, what would you like to see me work on next? That's my question. Uh, I'm going to go ahead and take my face back off of here for a second so I can focus on drawing. But what would you like to see me work on next? Where is my mouse? This many screens. There we go. Do you want to see me? Oh, crap. I did that wrong. I hate it when I do that. Okay. There we go. Click on the wrong screen and then I hit zoom on the thing and boop, there it goes. Uh, I've been debating about the next book that I work on. I have debated about it being a colored, retooled version of T-Man and Hyperstrike, the first book that I put out 5 years ago. And I mean, I would like to color it and I would like to fix the ending. Like at the time, I I had promised that the book was going to be X amount of pages, and then I got to the end, and I really wanted to make it a couple of pages longer, but my OCD and stuff, I had promised that the book was going to be this long, and so I made it that long, and it bugged me that I had to pack what I would have rather been 2 pages or maybe even 3 pages. I had to pack into 1 page and make one big splash page out of it. And it came out fine. But I'd like to maybe add in those pages that I wish I'd had. And so I'd be redoing the end of it and relettering it because, I'm better at lettering now than I was 5 years ago. And then retool the ending a little bit. But otherwise, it would basically be the same thing. Put out the new revised colored version of T-Man and Hyperstrike, or go on to the next issue of KAAW or the next issue of Green Zone, because I've got to get the fourth issue of Green Zone done so I can put the trade together and stuff. Or I've also been working on an idea for like a Mr. Fish anthology, maybe call it Fish Tales or something. I don't know. And where I could put several different little short stories that I've, ideas that I've been working on and get them out there and see what people think of them. Um, so yeah, I'm looking at either retooling T-Man Hyperstrike and re-releasing it in color, which I know is an easy sell because I know the Tourette's community is hard up for any kind of positive uh, representation that's not, a joke making fun of our neurological condition. So that's always an easy sell. Or, the next issue of KAAW or the next issue of Green Zone, or, like I said, the short anthology, which either way, I'm going to do all of those things at some point. It's just a matter of which one I do next. PJ votes for T-Man and Hyperstrike. Let's see. Vincent says, I have my first 3 issues ready to go to print. Do you have any advice on getting a publisher? Uh, my advice would be look for places that are doing similar style stuff to what you want to do. Look for places that are working in the same vein, not just, you know, oh, I would love to work with, Short Fuse or Dynamite or Antarctic or, you know, whatever. Look for places that are doing the same genre and style of books that you want to do, because like one of the complaints that I hear most often from publishers like that is people are coming in pitching books that this place would never sell, like Brian Polito at Lady Death Comics. He knows what his market is. His market is, dudes that like sexy comics with lots of tits, and he makes no bones about giving his customers what they want. And the whole sex sales thing. And so that's what he does, and he makes good money with that. And people spend lots of money for, sexy covers of a comic book character, which I don't understand, but if you're making money, more power to you, man. I don't get the logic why people pay for that, but more power to you. Like, that's what he sells. If you go in there with an all ages friendly, like, kids book, that's aimed at teaching toddlers to read, that's not the kind of thing he publishes. There's no point in going there. And, by the same token, if you go to like an all ages publisher that mainly focuses on stuff for young readers, and you're bringing this gritty crime drama full of blood and, you know, assaults and all kinds of other, that's not what they publish. They're not going to want that. So like that's my main advice is, like, if you're doing a science fiction story, find a small publisher that's already publishing sci-fi type stories like that, and see if they might be interested in. But finding somebody else to publish it is hard because, it's not their product. Like, it's always harder to sell your idea to somebody else when everybody has ideas. Like, it's easy to just do their own ideas. It's always a tougher sell. Not that you shouldn't try, just it's a tougher sell because everybody has ideas, and guaranteed that publisher already knows what the next 10 books they're planning on putting out are. And like, if you want to come in and change that and have them do your stuff, it should be something that fits in with what they're already doing. It should be something that adds to what they're already doing, not something that's going to make them have to change and go another direction, you know. And some publishers do all kinds of stuff, you know. And there's a lot of like small publishers out there that are basically just doing their own stuff. So don't be mad if like, you know, if somebody's like, nah, I'm just going to stick to doing my own stuff. Because some of them might seem bigger than they are, but it's only a couple of people working there doing it. And just the logistics of having to take on somebody else and their project and their needs and desires and what they have planned for this and all might not be heading in the direction that they already had planned for their small publisher that was really only built to publish them. Like Mr. Fish Comics, I'm publishing my own stuff. I do not have the organizational skills and stuff of like, you know, Sarah White and uh, Lori Foster to be publishing other people's stuff. They have that skill set. I do not. I am disorganized. Keeping up with my own stuff is a challenge sometimes. And, you know, like because I got sick and whatnot with all the traveling, the issue of Novikov that I expected to get out like the first week of October ended up coming out like a week ago or something. Like it was much further into October than I expected it to be for September's book, but you know, I got sick and spent a lot of days just sitting around staring at the walls because I couldn't do anything. And when it's a one man show, like there ain't nobody else to do it but me. So I'm not taking on anybody else's books. So I don't want to be responsible for that because I'm not that organized. But if I got to the point to where I was hiring my own Sarahs and whatnot to work for me to do that stuff because I'm not good at it and I don't want to have to do that part. If I get to the point where I'm hiring people to do that and we're doing it successfully, then I might reconsider and start looking to take on other stuff. So it depends on where folks are at. Sarah says she likes the idea of anthologies. Um, Backyard Toy says he agrees with that publishing advice. Good deal. I appreciate that, man. Really just need distribution, says Vincent. Yeah, that's that's the thing. Like doing it yourself is tough. And you have to learn to do all the things that you don't know how to do and sometimes might not be that good at. Like I've known a lot of people in the indie comics world that, you know, are great at ideas and are great at selling and all this stuff and, you know, they can really build up hype for a comic book but do not have the organizational skills to get that book out in any kind of timely fashion. And you know, they're out there hyping their next project, but the last one is still, you know, 2 years late and hasn't gone out yet. And there's a million excuses as to why, when in reality, you know, they spent the money from the Kickstarter and they don't have it anymore. And now they're trying to save up money out of their day job to pay for shipping a book when they shouldn't have spent that money, but they did because they're not very smart business people. And you know, they made a stupid mistake and now they're scrambling and making excuses, hoping that you don't find out that they actually blew the money. And like, that's a crappy position to have to put yourself in. But if you're not good at business, those are the kind of mistakes people make all the time, which is one of the things that makes some people have a negative opinion of Kickstarter books because, they backed one of those guys and never got their book and think, oh, that was a ripoff. Everybody on here must be a ripoff artist, which is not true. There are a lot of people that aren't that gifted business people. I would much rather not be doing it myself, but it's just the easier route for me right this second to do it myself and to be able to move faster. Because, like, working at the speeds I work at is a blessing, but it's also kind of a hindrance sometimes when it comes to working with other people because nobody else is accustomed to working as fast as I do. It's certainly a skill that can be learned, but it's so easy to see all that money roll in and forget that it's not all profit. Absolutely, Sarah. Sarah knows. Sarah's been around this for a while. They've handled big intakes from big Kickstarters and stuff. And it's real easy to get excited and say, oh, look at all the money we've got. But you ain't got nothing until that book shipped out. And everybody has their rewards and whatnot. You ain't got squat. You ain't got squat but responsibility, Sarah says. And she's right. Like a friend of mine, when he did his first Kickstarter, man, he obsessively watched that money and he worried about that money nonstop as it's sitting in the bank doing nothing. But he's seeing so many people screw up that, he was so afraid of accidentally screwing up that, he might have went a little bit too hard the other direction, but I don't blame him. His book came out on time and did great, and he didn't have any problems with running out of money and stuff before it, got out. Man, he killed it. And that's kind of what I do too. I let my OCD and stuff kick in and make me super obsessively worry about some of these things when I'm doing it now so that I don't make some of those same mistakes and screw up and spend the money before the book's out. Definitely better to err on the side of caution on that, says Sarah. Absolutely. And so, like, that's where I will let my OCD just make me obsessively worried about it until I'm done with it. And, I might have some stomach aches and might not sleep well for a couple of weeks, but by George, I don't run out of money before the book's sent out. Uh, Backyard Toy says, attempting to draw my own comic has really brought my weaknesses into view. Oh, man, it'll do that. It will do that. Man, will it do that. Like, I will never forget. It's also like the best teacher, though. Like, actually doing the pages and like steering into those skids and making yourself do what you're afraid of and what you're not good at will make you better in the long run. And like, it's always my advice to steer into the skid. And like, if it's hard and you want to avoid it, that's the thing that you need to focus on doing because, like, that's what's going to make you better in the end. Sarah says it makes the money funnier to spend when you finally do get to take it. um, yeah, like I'll never forget one of the first books I was hired to illustrate. Um, I was looking at the script and it was full of female characters. And for one reason or another, I just had never really drawn that many female characters, especially not in a long time. And mostly because like most of what I drew during the days, because I wasn't working as a full-time comic book artist and before that, and I was disabled for so long, like most of what I drew was just stuff my kids asked for. And, my kids were asking more for mashups with, you know, Spider-Man 2099 and the Hulk than they were asking for, you know, pictures of Wonder Woman or whatever. So I just mostly drew dudes for a long time there. And I was so nervous when it was coming time to I had to draw this comic, and like it was full of female characters, and I was so nervous about it because like, it's important to me to make them look good and not just look like super strippers, and I'm a big believer in, representing all kinds of different races and body types and body shapes and um all this stuff. So I didn't just want to draw a book with a bunch of super strippers in it. And now I don't even think twice about drawing female characters. I've gotten so comfortable with it. And the only reason I've gotten so comfortable with it is because I've had to force myself to do it so much. And because I was uncomfortable with drawing them, I put them prominently in the front of every panel that I could and stuck them in the background of every other panel that I could. I I love forcing myself to draw the things that I don't want to draw. If I don't like this costume or this costume's particularly hard to draw, I will stick it in the background of every panel to make myself get good at it. If I don't like drawing dogs, I'm absolutely going to start sticking dogs in things. I am going to make myself do it until I get comfortable with it. Like, I read a comic book one time and I was so impressed with the main character in this book was a fat guy, just old middle-aged fat dude. It was a obscure indie comic that, you know, wasn't focused on a buff superhero, and which I had seen very few things like that up until that point anyway. And then all of a sudden, I realized like he drew this fat guy so well as if he had a fat dude just sitting there posing for him. And it was so good. And I realized I don't know how to draw fat people. So I made it a challenge and I started drawing fat people all the time. And I started like looking at people in real life and looking at, how their jaw lines really looked as opposed to the superheroes I was used to drawing all the time. And started drawing a lot more realistic faces of all shapes and sizes. And it made me so much better, so much faster because I made a point of doing it. And like, I will never forget this one dude that walked into a restaurant when I was having dinner with my mom and dad. We were stopped for lunch. I was working at their CPA office, like shredding files and stuff for my first job because nobody else would hire the thug from town. And so my mom gave me a job doing shredding files. And we went to lunch and I was sitting outside smoking a cigarette because, I'm badass. And this dude walks in to go get his lunch. And I realized his face was absolutely like a triangle. Like his jaw was this little point on the end of this giant triangle that was his head. And I've never forgotten that dude's face. And I added it to my mental clip art. And like I will use his face all the time in stuff. But it was that challenge of drawing fat people that made me start to look at all kinds of different face shapes and stuff that I didn't realize, because I was always just drawing standard superhero stuff that I was picking up from other people. PJ says working through uncomfortable times creates growth. Absolutely. Like that, if I'm not good at it or I don't like it, you better believe that is going to be the number one thing I'm going to be working on for a while until I don't care anymore. And it's not a problem for me. Not just till I give up. No, 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 no. Until it's no longer an issue. Like Sarah said something about one of my hands one day, and I was like, yeah, it's I remember screaming in the car one day when I was a kid about how hard it was to draw hands and I was never going to get it. And now, 70 books in, I don't even know how many thousands of pages altogether I've drawn with pinups and everything else. Uh, like, I'm so far into this. I've drawn so many freaking hands at this point that, like, I don't even blink when it comes time to draw hands. I don't even really think that much about it. Like, I'm just like, oh, it's a hand. Okay. And draw it and don't worry about it. Now, sometimes that can lead to every once in a while, I have to go back and redraw a hand because I was like, oh, yeah, I really didn't think about that too much. Or like I caught myself the other day. I've caught myself 4 times in the last 5 years drawing a hand with 6 fingers on it. And at first, I thought it was such a funny fluke. Now it has me wondering how many times I've put a 6 fingered hand out in print and didn't realize it. Katie says going to life drawing has really helped me with drawing people, as generally speaking, they don't look like supermodels, so you have to learn more standard body types. Absolutely. PJ says I've got a project I've been working on for way too long. Not giving up though. That's good to hear. I've been worried about that project. What's up, PM Comics? Good to see you. Oh man, we got lots of comments here all of a sudden on TikTok. I take the Disney approach. You better believe I'll ask you. Let's see. The real skill is talking while drawing. Oh man, that's tough. Backyard toys to you, it's practice is key. Life drawing is the best, says Backyard Toys. Absolutely. And that's one thing that, like, I've had a lot of people say that, like, my style of drawing, like, reminds them of, like, the old school dudes, like, Jack Kirby and Steve Ditko and stuff. And mostly because uh, I don't do as much cross hatching and stuff. My inking is simpler. But I attribute it to the fact that, like, when I realized that I was basically just another Jim Lee McFarlane clone coming out of the 90s and I was drawing just like them, which in some cases can be good because people know what to expect from you and know what category to stick you in their brain. Um, and people love to organize and to put people in boxes. So, that can be beneficial in that respect. You know what? I'm not going to go too crazy on that mask vehicle because I need to have the reference up for that. And I don't know where it is right now. I know I've got it somewhere, but I don't have the reference handy. And I don't want to get so far off model with it that nobody knows what it is. So we're going to come over here to my buddy Great Babe. And we're going to wait for it to save. And then we're going to keep inking. Whoops. I don't need that thick brush. When we were working on this, and I drew Great Ape here, I just threw out an idea as we were chatting about like story about Great Ape and Biggly Beagly being a escaped mutant animals from a testing facility. And God, I have had that idea stuck in my head ever since. I think it would be so much fun to work on. And like with my buddy Drew Moss getting tapped to do the new Thundercats reboot, it's really made me it made me question myself for a minute because I've never had an interest in working at Marvel or DC. Like I know I'm the weird artist that isn't doing this because he wants to get there and work at Marvel and DC. I just never really cared about them. I mean, I like their stories and I like their characters, but I always would much rather tell my own stories. That is what I want to do. And so I just never really had any interest or drive for trying to get on at the big guys because that wasn't my end goal. You know, if I ran into somebody and they wanted to offer me some work, sure, I'd take it. You know, just like I take all kinds of indie comic jobs at times. Like, you know, got to pay the bills. If I can pay the bills drawing Spider-Man or Batman, that's just as good, I guess, as drawing Five Star or Power Company or whatever else. But there are those few things that you would like to work on, you know? There's those few properties like Thundercats that would be so awesome to work on. But the big difference between me and Drew is Drew has spent his time applying and cultivating and doing work for, you know, IDW and Marvel and things like that. And he's just been doing the Gargoyle series, you know, which was another awesome property to get to work on. And I'm like, you know, it's because he does that that he gets those opportunities, you know, to turn around and make a pitch for working on Thundercats because he's out there making those connections with the people at these companies that are doing these projects that I'm not making connections with because I don't really care for working there. But like, I will never get to do my dream story of, you know, that I would love to do of, say, Kite Man if I'm not making connections with people at DC. And for a second there, I started to rethink and I was like, maybe I should. And I was like, no, I'm doing exactly what I want to be doing. I'm doing exactly what I've always dreamed of doing my entire life right now. I'm telling my own stories, and people are buying them and enjoying them. And I'm not about to turn my back at this critical juncture of doing my own stuff. And that is foolish. I would love to get to do some of those things, but not at the expense of getting to tell my own stories. Maybe someday, but right now, my priority is telling my own stories. And I still do work for other people, but you know, I just realized the dissonance that like, you know, you're not going to get those jobs if you're not in the mix at those places, you know, applying for those jobs and stuff and talking with these people. And PJ says the bigger the company, the more red tape you have to get through. Absolutely. Let's see. What do we got over here? I miss Thundercats. Yep. Ironically, you're the artist Marvel DC should want to work with. I appreciate that. Uh, Vincent asked, "Do you generally pre-sell before you go to print?" Um, Up until now, yeah, I have been. Is like I said, my new going through Patreon for my books is fairly recent, and like I had done, I already had the Kickstarter going about the same time that I launched the Patreon for KAAW. So that I had X amount of people that for sure wanted it from the Kickstarter, but I always buy a lot more. And usually I try my normal way of doing things is I usually order like at least a 500 print run of comics because it's going to save me money per issue, and it's going to make the books come out at a better price for me. And I know I'm going to sell the books at cons and whatnot and in the TikTok shop now and stuff like that. So it's not like I'm going to be stuck with them forever. And, if that stock lasts me 2 years, that's pretty good. Um, I thought when I did my first book, T-Man and Hyperstrike, I thought for sure I was going to end up stuck with like 500 copies for 20 years. And I'm actually down to under 100 copies now left. And most of those I sold in the first few months after the Kickstarter. Just once people started posting in the Tourette's community about the book, other people started hitting me up and saying, "Hey, can I still get a copy of this?" I was like, "Absolutely." Hey, let's come over here and work on this for a minute. Try and get it framed well. How much is the retail price of an issue? Depends on the book for me. I oops. I sell most of my standard sized issues. I sell at $10 a copy now because I'm not in competition with Marvel and DC. I am selling like I talk about it a lot like Marvel and DC are like McDonald's and they're mass produced for the masses, and indie comics are like, an artisanal grass fed free range steak. They're not aimed at the same market or the same people per se. And not to say that people can't like both, but we're not going after the same thing. And, if you like the free range hand raised, grass fed, artisanal Colby beef steaks, then this is for you. That's not for everybody. Absolutely. I get that. Not everybody wants that. There's a lot of books out there that I would love to support and buy and have, but I can't afford the prices of them because, they know what their product's worth and they sell it for a price reflecting that. And I respect them for that. I just can't afford it, which is fine. You know, yeah, I can't afford it. And everybody that I've talked to in the indie comics community is like, if I sell it for twice as much, I'm gonna sell half as many books. And I'm like, even if you do sell half as many books at twice the price, you're still making the same amount of money. And you're out a lot less money. So like, instead of having, if I sell 20 books instead of 40, but I'm at a show, but I make the same amount of profit, let's say, that cost me half as much to produce because I only had to pay for the production of, 20 books instead of 40. It just, every way I've gone through the math, charging what the books are really worth comes out ahead. And I am a big proponent of it now. Now, does that mean a few people that turn their nose up are like, "Wow, Marvel doesn't charge that much for," might turn their nose up? Yeah, they might. And I'm willing to accept that. That's a hit I'm willing to take. You know, if that's the case, that's the case. Oh no! Oh no! Oh my great Googa Mooga! I just realized. Where is he? Glory Black Falcon. I just realized Black Falcon is going. Oh, is going up Grape Ape's butt. That was no good at all. Can't have him hitting up Grape Ape's butt. Oh, poor Black Falcon. I am so sorry I did that to you, man. I didn't even realize you got all covered up there. I'm gonna have to ink you right now to make up for the fact that I had you stuck up Grape Ape's butt. That's a shame. Oh yeah, got Mr. T in there. Marvel makes more books, so they get to charge less. Absolutely. And they're also selling advertising in their books and stuff, which we're usually not doing. Um, some guys have done that to success, but I'm not selling advertising in my books. Oh yeah, man, Black Vulcan gotta have man. We got a bunch of the super friends in here. And for those who may not know, just been coming in, this is the variant cover, one of the variant covers for my second issue of KAAW the Cro-Magnon that will be going out to my Patreon backers this month, because the Patreon backers get it first, and for $15 a month, they get all of my issues shipped directly to them, get a book each month from me, and this is going to be this month's book is the Mighty KAAW the Cro-Magnon. And when we were tossing out ideas for variant covers, my Patreon backers suggested doing like an 80s heroes version, because on the first one, we did a variant cover with all the barbarians and stuff that we love from back in the day. And so this time we decided to do 80s heroes. And so we've got everything from like Godzilla and Ultraman and Voltron. And folks were just shouting out all kinds of stuff. And we got Spidey and his amazing friends. We got the greatest American hero, Mr. T. Got Strawberry Shortcake on there, My Little Pony, uh, Cabbage Patch Kids, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Real Ghostbusters, Knight Rider. Man, we got everything on here. Grape Ape. And we ended up with so many suggestions that it ended up having to become a big wraparound cover. And this one will be available on the Kickstarter, which, like I said, is probably going to come out next month. But all my Patreon backers are going to get their copies of KAAW first. So if you want to be in the know, you can sign up for as little as $5 and get the digital copies. If you're a digital comic fan like I am, or for $15 a month, period, you get a comic book shipped to you every month. And that covers shipping and the whole 9 yards. No hidden costs. It's just $15 a month, which is cheaper than it's going to be in the Kickstarter to get it sent to you. But that's because I'm willing to give the discount to the people that are willing to subscribe and back me regularly and let me make awesome books all the time and not have to stop making awesome books to run a Kickstarter, because frankly, that takes a lot of my time. And as I was saying before, being a disabled artist, that takes a lot out of me. So I can't do a bunch of interviews today and get, 6 pages out at the same time. I'm magic, but I'm not that magic. That just takes more than I got. All righty. So let's zoom in here and give everybody a chance to look at what we've done so far. I'm going to zoom in a little bit closer, and we'll go across the top and then we'll go across the bottom. So Starting over in the corner, we've got Ultraman. We've got the Biscuits down here on top of Rescue Rangers balloon. We've got oh God, what is his name? Samurai from uh, Super Friends. We've got Raphael from the Ninja Turtles. We've got Voltron. We've got Apache Chief. We've got Optimus Prime. We have Inspector Gadget. We have He-Man and the Wind Raider. We have America's Greatest Hero. We have Spider-Man and Iceman from Spidey and His Amazing Friends. We have Godzilla. We've got the DeLorean. Uh, yeah, absolutely. Backyard Toys saying sell ads and your shipping goes up. Yep, it does, which is another reason why we don't do it. We've got Space Ghost that we inked today. We've got Blue Falcon and Rocketeer and KAAW and Gray Bait that we inked today, and Black Vulcan. Blah, blah, blah. We've got one of the vehicles from Mask. I cannot remember the name of any of the Mask vehicles, so you'll have to forgive me. We've got the Roadrunner. We've got Panthro and the Thunder Tank with Gizmo on the hood. We've got Chitara and the Flash running ahead. We've got Knight Rider in Super Pursuit mode in the background. We've got Speed Buggy and Mr. T. We've got Ecto 1 with the real Ghostbusters. On top of the Thunder Tank, we have the Gummy Bears and the Smurfs getting ready to fire. Way down in the front row, we've got My Little Pony with the star on the butt. I don't remember which one that is. Sarah would have to tell me because I don't know their names. We've got the Cabbage Patch Kids, and we got I'm just a bill. Yes, I'm only a bill. And the $7 million man. And we got Strawberry Shortcake and Snake Eyes from G.I. Joe and the Ninja Turtles and the van. And we've got the Care Bears. And then way down here, way down yonder on a Chattahoochee, we've got Gadget from Rescue Rangers, and we got the Snorks, and we got the Atom, and like I said where we started, we got one of the Biscuits. I don't remember his name, but there we go. That has got everything on it, and we're nearly done inking it. Like we'll probably get done inking it in the next live stream. I have to get up because my back is killing me and move around a little bit. But yeah, so that's coming out really good. I'm probably going to try and come back on later today if I can. If my Tourette's will let me, I'm going to come back on later and work on some more of this today. But anyway, that's where we're at. So thank y'all for hanging out. If any of y'all on TikTok haven't seen my stuff before and are just now finding out about me, go check out my shop. I got lots of awesome, cool books for sale. And like I said, I am the writer and creator behind the Mighty KAAW, the Cro-Magnon, along with a whole bunch of other books. And this one was the first one that went out to my Patreon backers a couple of months ago. Then we sent out the source book, and then we just sent out. We sent out. I was thinking I was missing one. I sent out Danny J. Quick's special cover that I did for him. That was one of the books that we sent out to the physical backers 1 month. I knew I was missing a month. And then we just sent out the book Novikov that went out for last month's book. And let me see. I'm trying to pull it up. And then this is the Patreon only version that's going to be going out to Patreon backers. This is the cover of issue 2 that's going to be going out to all my Patreon backers, either digitally for $5 a month or a physical copy signed and sent directly to your mailbox with, stickers and whatnot else, because I always got to put a little extra in there because, you got to be extra. So that's a pretty good deal for $15, and you get a book every month coming from me. And you can see behind me, I've worked on a bunch of books. I put out books. So getting something isn't the issue. And anyway, thank y'all for hanging out with me. If you have any questions about the Mighty KAAW, if you have any questions to KAAW himself, or any questions about the world, or you have any comments about the book after reading issue 1, hit me up and ask me, because I'd like to fill out the letter column and I need some questions and stuff to put in there. And for those who don't know, in the book, KAAW answers all the letters himself. So if you want to hear his answers to the questions, ask some juicy ones, and we'll put them in there. Anyway, thank you guys for hanging out. Check out the Patreon, Mr. Fish Comics, and check out the shop on TikTok if you haven't done it already. And that's it for me. I will see y'all later on, maybe later today, definitely Thursday on my Patreon only show. So if back to Patreon, even just $3 lets you watch the show and take part in what happens in future upcoming books. So, not for nothing. Check it out. I'll see y'all later.
Hello, everybody. It is your Uncle Fish back again for School of Fish art stream. J-Man wants a Gatling gun on the end of his tail. Oh,